What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Before we start, I want to pray. Dear Lord, thank you for waking us up this morning, dear Lord. Thank you for the person on the other side of this video watching this video, dear Lord. Help me to convey your message through, dear Lord. Thank you for another day, Lord. Thank you for the people that are in my life, Lord. Thank you for the people that are in their life, Lord. Help them to see who you truly are, dear Lord. Help them on this Sunday, Lord, to either start their journey or want to keep working forward towards their journey, dear Lord. In your name I pray. Amen. So today is Sunday, so I want to do a little or try and do a little sermon for y'all. But I want to start off with something that I did while I was gone away at Basic. I think this is very beneficial for somebody that's trying to get on a journey, and even somebody that's just maybe just wants to rekindle their love for Jesus. It's a 3 minute salvation testimony, and I think this is big because not everybody has a story. Not everybody might have a specific story to tell, and that's okay. But I think knowing why and your what and your who, I think that's big. Like even in any story, when you're trying to tell a story, that's you need those things. You need your why, your what, and your who. And that this is my story, and I know that this means something to me. Every time that I feel like giving up, every time that I fall short, I always look back to this, and I think that for somebody that's getting on this journey or that somebody that's wants to rekindle their love, I think this will be big for them. So I'm gonna put the questions down in the description, but I'm also gonna read it out. And yeah. So the first question is, what drew you to God? So I put my family, being in the church at a young age and seeing his impact on others. So specifically for me, like um I grew up in the church. At a young age, my family brought me to different church homes. I was a member of different church homes. I remember my mom and my dad, they both went to different churches. They went to church across the street or down the street from where they grew up from. And over time, I used to go to church a lot with my mother. And then when her church ended, we tried a different church home, and my mom really didn't feel comfortable in that church. She didn't really like that church. So we ended up going to my dad's church, and I think that was big because that was my home. That's where I met a lot of my friends at. I met a lot of good influential people at that church, and I think that was big. My dad was going to that church for a while. He was active, very active in the church. He actually sung in the choir. And my mom did as well. But over time, my dad kind of pushed my mom to do those things that he used to do. So right now, my mom's in the choir. My mom's a part of some boards and stuff like that. So she has a pretty big influence in the church. And hopefully, when I get to about their age, I want to do the same thing. So I think when I'm looking back, what drew me specifically to God was my family, being in that church from a young age and then seeing its impact on others. What I mean by that is just being in that church. That's when I started seeing a lot of people actually go up at the end of the church, give their testimony. And I really didn't, you know, when you're at that young age, it's really, you believe what you're told. So once I started seeing it from other people's standpoint and seeing what he done for others, that helped me see, like, okay, this is, maybe I want to be a part of this too. So the next question is, why did you ever consider Jesus' claims? I put, because throughout it all, I never seen my parents doubt Jesus. And back when I wrote these, this question kind of threw me up, and I still think to this time, it still kind of throws me up. But I still think that I'm gonna still stand by this question and stand by my answer, because throughout it all, I never seen my parents doubt Jesus. And I don't want to come on here and give away like all my personal life business and my parents' personal life business, but my parents have went through, even before I was born, my parents been through a lot, and I've never once ever heard them give up on God, give up on Jesus. Whenever life was beating them down, I remember asking my dad and my mom when I was going through some tough times, like, how do they do it? Like, what kept them going? And I remember my mom always telling me, Jesus, just praying and knowing that he's always going to be there and answer her prayers. My mom is a very religious woman. My mom puts her all into the Lord and all into doing the right thing and being a good person. And I really look up to my mom. Same with my dad. My dad might not be as vocal, but he still prays every night. He still does what he does. He goes to the church. He's very active in the church. He cooks for the church. He goes to different events for the church. My dad's very active in the church. He might not be as vocal, he always in the back, but he's always there. So I know that God played a big important part in my dad's life. He doesn't have to be as that's another thing that I learned from him. I learned, which is so great for having two great amazing parents, is that there's always a different way or a different outlook to life. My mom, she's very vocal. My mom, she will go out in the church, she'll hoop and she'll holler and she'll confess. But my dad is the complete opposite. He'll stand there, but he still at the same time they're both still receiving and rejoicing and loving the Lord. My dad, he always told me that some people rejoice and praise different. My dad still loves the Lord. My dad still is a Christian. My dad still does the right things, but he's not vocal about it. And my mom is. And I still feel like, growing up, I always saw two sides of the story and I was trying to fit in, find that middle. And I think at this point I have. Sometimes I am vocal, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I like to watch and still praise. And sometimes I like to, say stuff. But like I said, through it all, I never seen my parents doubt them, and they've made it this far, and I know they're still continuing to hold on to the truth and to the Lord. So the next question is, when and where did you receive them? Um, I put at a young age, when I went through school and sports. Um, yeah, I was baptized at a young age. I got baptized when I was about 11 or 12. Um, And I received them then. I received them through school. I would always pray to him, and I would always feel his presence. Even through sports, I would always pray to him when I was feeling down or I was feeling nervous about something. And I would always feel that sense of peace after I would do that, whether it was in school or in sports. So I feel like that's when I first received them. I don't think it was, looking back at it, I don't think it was I fully received them yet, since I was so young. I really didn't understand what I was receiving at that point. But I think now I could probably change that answer to when I went to basic. That's when I really felt like I really finally received him, felt that peace, understood what I was feeling. So I think at that time, that's when I truly received and felt him. And the last question, I think this is the most important question. It was, what has changed? I said, now I actually feel his presence. Uh, I feel him working through me, going, giving me strength, taking my pain away. Now since I felt hold on. Sorry, I'm trying to. I can't understand my I can't understand my handwriting. Since I failed on social media, I have no distractions. I'm able to give him all the glory and all the praise. So let me reread that. So I said, now I actually feel his presence. I feel him walking through me, giving me strength, taking my pain away. Now, since I've gotten off social media, I have no distraction. I'm able to give him all the glory and all the praise. So I wrote this, like I said, I wrote this back when I was at basic training. And the best thing about basic training was, for me, was that I had no distractions, like I put. It was really just me and myself and my thoughts. And, for some people that could be terrible. For me at the beginning, it was terrible. Those thoughts going through my head, what could go wrong, what could go right, all that. I didn't know how to control it. But it was also a blessing in disguise, because I was actually able to sit down, process my thoughts, speak to God, and actually feel his presence, feel him working through me. You know, Going to basic was a whole new experience for me. I never knew any of that stuff that I did there. I never read about it, never watched any videos about it. I'm not an army guy. I still, to this day, I'm not an army guy, but I know when I feel some nervousness or feel some anxiety, I know how to deal with it. And I dealt with that basic by praying to him and just admitting to him that I was nervous, I was scared, and I don't know what I was doing. And God blessed me, and he gave me that sense of peace, but he also pushed people in my life that would help me and stuff like that. When I was down, he gave me that presence and he gave me that peace to, ask for help, tell him and know that I wasn't enough to, go out there and just act like I knew what I was doing. If I didn't know what I was doing, I asked somebody. I had friends there that knew what they were doing, that helped me, and I think that's what got me through it. He made me realize that I was never alone. Whether I was putting these people, my Furious Five guys, in there with me, or just by giving me that sense of peace whenever I was down. And so I think that's what has changed. Like I said, when I first was baptized when I was younger, I felt his presence, but I didn't really understand it. I didn't really know what was going on. I was taught to pray and to trust. And that's what I did. I prayed and I trust. And, I felt that peace, but I didn't really understand what I was doing. I was just following the rules, following what I was told from my parents. And so on the back, I actually wrote the day that I was saved. So I put last Sunday, September 1st, 2024, the last day of August. I went to Protestant Gospel Church in Basic. I wasn't expecting to learn anything, but during Bible study, they had an altar call, and I went with my battle buddies. And while I was down, I was instructed to give God all my pain, and I did. And when I did, I felt something in my body just get sucked out, like God came, put his hand on over my shoulder, and made me new. I will never forget that experience. God is real. Like I wrote down, I will never forget that experience when I got on that knee and I gave all my pain to God, and I felt that sense of peace for the first time in a while. It felt so reassuring and it felt so great. And knowing, I know for a fact I can sit here and tell you that God is real. It brought tears to my eyes. I was in front of like maybe 100 people, 100 plus people, crying in the middle of the altar call and just giving God all my pain, and it felt amazing. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm here pushing out what God can do, because I was in a terrible spot. I've been in a terrible spot for a while. And, I've been going through a lot of stuff. I've been going through fights, battles, anxiety, mental, physical issues. And throughout it all, God's always had my back. And I can always count on God, because I can't do this by myself. I know I can't. God's put people in my life to help me get to this point, and I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful. And you should be too. If you trust in God, He's gonna give it to you. God's gonna give you whatever you need, and that's the thing. We need a lot, because we can't do it. Like I said, we can't do it by ourselves. And so, just once you break down and give Him all that pain, once you get up after, you feel so great. You just want to go out and just tell everybody, like, because you want everybody to experience that. I want everybody to experience it. I want every single person that watches this video to experience that feeling that I felt, because it was amazing. And I think that's one of the first steps. That was one of the first steps for me. That's when, after that day, that's when I realized I want to come on here for you guys and make videos. Go out there, not for fame or popularity, is for that moment right there, for that moment where you sit down and you give Him all your pain, all your doubts, all your worries, and He takes it all away for you and tells you that it's okay, that He's here for you, and that He's real. I want people to experience that. I want, if I could go out and show everybody and help everybody to experience that, that's enough for me. That's all I want. I don't want fame, popularity from this. I just want everybody to experience that as well. But as I was saying, today I was going to come on here with a sermon, give y'all a couple verses, but I felt like today was a good day to give my testimony. And like I said, I don't have no big big gigantic story. I just have I gave my life to Christ. I went to church. I got down on my knees and I gave Him all my anxiety, my doubts, and my worries, and He took them all away from me. I was that guy that went to church. You know, I was in the church. I was active in the church. I sung in the choirs. I was in the events. I played baseball, and everybody in my church knew me. Everybody in my church thought I was going to be this guy that was going to go to the major leagues, because I was good. I'm not going to come on here and be cocky, but I was actually a good player. And they saw that. But the one thing about my church home is that when I came back and I told them that I wasn't doing that anymore, they still accepted me the same. They didn't look at me no different, because they understand that's life. That's how it is. They knew the type of person I was inside and out. And when I called on them from help, and when I told them that I was down, they were there for me. And that's what everybody that watches this video, just everybody in general, needs. You need that place where you can go, where you can give all your doubts and worries, and know that other people are there doing the same thing, and that you're all one, brothers and sisters in Christ, you know? So I want to come on here and just give my testimony, give my story. If y'all got a story, please drop it down in the comments. But like I said, I'm gonna add these questions in the description. And yeah, just always just remember your why. Just remember that feeling. If you haven't felt that feeling yet, you're gonna feel it. I know God is real. I know if I pray to Him right now, He's gonna hear me. I know whatever I'm thinking, He knows what I'm thinking. And you're never alone. So remember that. Remember that you're never alone. Remember that He wants the best for you. So thank y'all for watching the video. Don't be comment y'all's testimonies. If you have a testimony, even if you don't have a testimony, just comment your why. Why are you watching the video? Why are you here? Why do you want to get closer to God? So thank y'all for watching the video.